pumped to welcome back guests to this show, particularly when it comes to the great sport of shooting. A triple Olympian now, two-time Commonwealth Games medalist, World Cup winner, and more importantly, someone I meant to have lunch with, and we need to work this out. Elena Galiabovitch is back on the show, and she's with us now. Elena, first of all, welcome back to Off the Podium.
Thanks for having me. And I didn't know about our lunch date, but I'm definitely keen.
You forgot about our last interview. See, that's what happens. People promise they want to have lunch with me, right? And then they go off to an Olympics. They work long hours in a job. It's like I'm not priority in their lives. So, actually, I just wanted to touch on it. Are you proud that I pronounced your name correctly this time around? So, I didn't butcher it absolutely.
I'm not going to lie. I don't remember your pronunciation last time, so I don't have anything to compare to. So.
You do remember this podcast. This is Off the Podium. You know what you're doing today?
That I vaguely recall, but...
We'll get to the gist of that. You'll remember what this show is. But it's a pleasure to have you back on, Elena, because a lot's happened since we've had you on the show. You've been to another Olympics. You've been keeping busy out there, and we're sort of doing this interview now, about 8 or so months removed now from Paris, I think it is, if I'm doing my calculations correctly. Does life feel different as a triple Olympian as opposed to the last time we had you on as a dual Olympian?
I think life looks different now compared to when I last spoke to you. Just my day-to-day life has changed. It's less focused on the sport, obviously, and just more onto my career. But it's very different to how I was living when we spoke then. I don't know if it feels different being a 2 or 3-time Olympian, but the last Olympics didn't go that well. So it does take time to recover from that.
Kind of get through that. Jeez, and we'll obviously touch on what happened in Paris, because when we spoke to you last, we sort of in that weird period where we recorded that just before the team got announced. You were then announced, and then we aired the interview. So it was sort of like this weird sort of purgatory area. So I guess we didn't really touch a lot on that preparation from that point to when you actually went to Paris. So how was sort of that period, training beforehand, everything? And you sort of touched on a little bit at how you were feeling going into Paris. But I guess kind of did a lot of that change in between sort of the interview and then when you actually got to Paris?
Yeah, probably not. There was a very short time between the announcement and going to Paris. I think the announcement was end of June or something like that. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it was one of the later ones. Yeah.
It was only a few weeks. So I think we mainly had a stint back in Melbourne, which I was happy with because we had about 2.5 weeks, I think, before we flew to Châteauroux. We just had a period of preparation back home. So I don't think a whole lot changed in that time because I knew that I was going prior to our conversation. Obviously, we just couldn't officially say it on the podcast. But there was just a really short period of time. So I don't really perceive that much changed in that time.
What's that like? I always like hearing what's it like from our guests who know they're going, but you can't announce it because it's sort of, for your preparation, it's fine. You're going, so you're just preparing as you are. But you're probably getting barraged by so many people going, "Are you going? Are you going?" Can you? Oh, I can't tell you yet. Just wait and see.
I think everyone in the shooting community sort of understood what was going on.
Yeah.
But from a work point of view, I did get some people asking, are you going? Because they knew I'd taken leave from the job. And I know when the selections were going on in the back of my mind, I was concerned being well, if I don't get in, what are they going to say? I've taken time away from my job for this. So I did have a few people ask. But I guess surgeons are all up in their own business and their own heads anyway, so I can't say I got barraged. But I just didn't reply to the messages then on the day because it was quite nice that people were interested and keen to see how I was progressing. So once the announcement went live, I sent them a photo with the ticket and that sort of thing and said I was going. So yeah, it's nice to be asked because I guess people are showing interest in your journey.
And at least they spelt your name right on the ticket. We just had Serge on recently and went over the fact that they didn't know how to spell his name, right?
Yeah, but back to him. But no, actually, there was one Age article where they spelt my name wrong. So, which was weird because the Age is published on me multiple times. So, surely it's I don't know. Anyway, whatever. They spelt my name wrong in a piece that a photographer did on a lot of different sports, this black and white photography piece, which was quite cool. I thought it was a nice idea, and they did lots of sports and para and able body sports, but for some reason Didn't get my name right there.
Do you send them a polite like, "Hey guys, can you spell my name right correctly," or do you just move on and go, "It's just the age"?
Oh yeah, I asked our media person too because I feel like it's something they should probably get right.
Well, I know as a journalist, like when I did my cadetship at a newspaper, the one thing, the day one, you're taught when you're interviewing someone and you're getting like a name for your article or a caption, no matter what their name is, you ask them to spell it. Even if it's John Smith, you ask, how do you spell John Smith? Because what's the number one complaint you get the next day in the newspaper? It is when their name is spelt wrong. So, that's at least how I was taught. So the age.
No, it's funny. I do recall that doing other interviews, people asking me, how do you spell your name? How do you pronounce your name? But it just reminded me of this funny thing, which is kind of a little bit my reality now. That when I was doing the Com Games, I think I did an interview, and at that point I wasn't in my urology training program yet. And so I was telling someone I wanted to be a urologist, and in the newspaper article, they wrote that I wanted to be a neurologist.
Oh.
And so all of my not all, like some of my consultants saw this. Were like, oh, I hear you want to be a neurologist.
Wow.
And now when someone calls me in the middle of the night for the wrong specialty, and it's neurology and not urology, it's quite infuriating. But anyway, we digress.
and quite a different field of medicine for both there. So it's not like you can kind of translate, I guess.
They're quite far apart in the body. And brains are much harder, I can tell you that. They're much harder. I'm just a plumber. Anyway.
Just note to people in your hospital, if you all of a sudden show up to get something with the brain, get a little bit worried. So, if that's the case. I was going through your Instagram and sort of in the lead up there to Paris. Just want to ask you about the cakes. You had a couple of cakes made for you in the lead up, and you were trying to question which one your sister made for you there. Can we get an answer to that?
Did you get the answer right?
I'm assuming it might be the one that wasn't the first one that we saw, but I don't want to disparage your sister. She could be a very good baker. I don't know.
She is a very good baker. Oh, look, it's all about the taste, right? This isn't MasterChef.
Yep.
Of course, my sister's one was the one that looked more homemade, but it was made with love, so they were both quite tasty.
Where would the other one come from? Was that sort of just like?
So the other one of the Pistol Clubs made them, and asked. I think it was from the cheesecake shop. Actually, it was a New York cheesecake, and somehow they got them to print like the logo and everything on the cake, and that was pretty cool. And it was massive, so I shared it with lots of people. I'm not going to eat a whole cheesecake. I mean. Maybe I could.
Let's be honest, it's cheesecake, right? You want it. Like that episode of Friends, right, when Rachel and Chandler are eating that one off the floor, essentially, because who doesn't love cheesecake? But I mean, that's the thing, though. Like your sister's one, like okay, the club, no disrespect to them, lazy. They've just gotten a logo, printed it out, put it on the top. Your sister's got like M&Ms or Smarties and like put the Olympic rings out. I mean, who cares what it looks like? As you said, it's the effort and made with love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did hers taste better though?
I think so. I think it did. Hers was like a biscuity type thing. Well, the thing is, though, that I had like no expectation that my sister was going to make anything. So I was actually very pleasantly surprised. I thought it was quite kind of her.
Okay, so this isn't like a tradition. Like Elena makes the Olympics, sister bakes a cake. This was a third time. Hey, here you go have a cake.
Do you reckon people are getting sick of it or something like,
yeah,
this
God,
again?
Another Olympics. I thought this was over with 10 years ago. You're going to another one?
Where are we talking about something else now?
Paris. Oh, la-di-da. Like, come on. Yeah. That's how good.
My sister does love French, so maybe she was more inclined because it was the Paris Games.
Right.
She speaks fluent French.
Oh, okay. Was she on the plane? Did she come over and watch you?
No. No, she didn't.
Jeez.
My mum came.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is obviously very expensive to go around the Olympic time, so I have no expectation of anyone attending.
Because you didn't fly out, like, I saw your post about joking around lucky that Emirates didn't use Microsoft, because that was obviously when they had that massive crash, wasn't it? So, like, was that, did you know that going into getting your flight that this could be a concern? Because a lot of people were just sort of delayed in that period, weren't they?
Were we in an Uber? I don't know. I was traveling with my dad because we were flying together. And I think this was evolving as we were in the Uber.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily Emirates did not use Microsoft because I really wanted to get on the plane. Everyone's like, oh, don't, whatever, they'll get you there, they'll figure it out. It's not you don't have to worry about it. It's not your problem. But I was just like, I just really want to get on this plane.
Yeah.
I really want to go. I would like to make it there. ideally at the prearranged time.
just to have that preparation. Because I remember I think we'd gotten to Paris like a day or two before that happened. And then obviously everything, the shit hit the fan with it. So we were like counting our lucky stars that we'd gotten there. But it was, that was, fun in the loosest term possible, of course. But when it came to
a lot of people did get delayed going in. It's funny how much you forget. It's only been a few months or 8 months, however long you said, but you just like forget everything.
Yeah, a bit's happened there. So do you then go, is it straight to Châteauroux once you get to Paris to acclimatise for yourself with where you're going to be based?
Yeah, so we went straight to Châteauroux. We had a driver car for everyone that landed that time for us. So I went straight there. We spent the whole time there until the shooting event. It's like all of the shooting events concluded, and then we went into the village after that.
I saw the post, which I'll touch on sort of what it was like staying there, but you did mention last time that there were going to be 3 areas of accommodation and only one of them had the food hall. Did you get the food hall accommodation?
No. Our accommodation only had Australia, and then there were a couple of Japanese athletes and New Zealand as well.
Right.
And there was only breakfast provided at our accommodation, so the countries had to cater their own lunch and dinner. But there was a bus option, like you could take the bus to the venue that did have the food. I think 2 of them ended up having food, but maybe there was
stuck with the one without. Come on, what's going on there?
Hey?
And you got stuck with the one without the food? Oh.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Australian team and the AOC arranged catering for us. So we had a chef cook us dinner every night. And then you just had to say if you were going to go out or if you were going to have something else. And they pre-published a menu. So I suppose, you didn't get a choice. It was, the one dish or whatnot on the day or that night. But the lunches and things were fine. Like we had nice baguettes, so they'd go and get fresh bread and make us like nice baguettes. The best one was like with some sort of, I don't know, mozzarella, tomato, and balsamic.
Oh, that sounds good.
Fresh bread.
All right.
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay. Did you?
So could have been worse. I did visit the food hall once or twice, just to have a look and see what they had and eat with some people from another country. But that wasn't until after I finished my competition. I think
not quite the baguettes though. The baguettes still held strong.
That's good.
Yeah. Did you get the Powerade train? Did you help out Sergey there in the Powerade?
He did ask me to film him. So do you think that means
you were the camera person? Oh.
Yeah, I know. I was the camera person. I didn't get the credits, which I think is rude,
that's breaking news.
Frankly.
He failed to mention that the other week. Okay. So all these viral videos, you need to be getting
I'm
a cut.
sure he probably used lots of people, but I definitely filmed 2 at least.
Wow. Now, I know from experience of being someone who attempts to do things on social media that once you ask people to film a few things after a few times, there is the eye roll and, oh, really, do I have to do this? So by the second, third time where you sound like, so come on, mate, well, we're going to compete. We're at the Olympics. I don't care about your Powerade. Come on.
I think we're all used to it and we know what Sergey is like. So I was just like, whatever, let's get it done so we can get on the bus.
He moved on from the pies pretty quickly and just, took the Powerade, right? Drinking the Powerade, not the Kool-Aid, essentially. So did you drink many of the Powerades or were you just not going to be obsessed as he was?
Occasionally I had Hydrolyte and stuff. Like it was hot there, but I had some other replacement options.
Okay, good. All right.
But yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. I mean, Powerade's a great product. I probably don't need boxes and boxes of it. So, it's fine.
You don't need 9,000 packets of it.
I think, isn't that the thing, though? Like, a lot of people, they'll go to the games and they'll try and pack their bags with as much stuff as they can to take home, whether it's Powerade or it's condoms or it's something else. I don't know. But, like, a bit of both. Bit from column A, bit from column B.
I got to say, Elena, in 463 episodes of this show, I never asked the condom question because I just feel like it's asked to death. Every time somebody has an Olympian on, it's the condoms or the cardboard bed, right? Like, everybody answered those questions. So.
Oh, okay. Did you meet the Turkish air pistol shooter? Yep. Did you meet Ray Gun? And maybe the bed was maybe the third or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've answered one of our final 10 questions.
Like I'll walk into the room and they're like, Ray Gun!
No. I mean, did you meet her at the closing ceremony? I got to ask you now.
I didn't meet her. I mean, I was in the vicinity and she did some breaking and everyone was watching, but I didn't personally meet her.
Okay. Now, we can hook you up. We know her. So if you ever do, if you want to answer that question and sound cooler than you are, so, we can pass on the details. Did you not share a room with Catherine Skinner? Did I see that on your social media? Is that correct?
I don't know that I posted that on my social media, but I did share
You
a room of
did.
Catherine
Well,
Skinner.
it's the eagle eye on me here, Elena, then on your video that you
So there were
shared.
cameras inside my room. Is that
Oh,
what you're
we're,
saying?
we're hooked up on this show. We know. But I think on one of your social videos where you're sharing sort of, you're walking through the area,
Oh
there's
yeah.
a brief glimmer of the door as you walk in and your name's on
Oh,
the
and it
door next
says,
to it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what we do there.
yeah.
So, I mean, we always like to find out who your roommates are at the Olympian. Had
Oh.
you shared with Catherine before or was this sort of the
No,
first
never
time?
before.
Okay, what's it
No, never
like? What's it
before.
like sharing the room with an Olympic gold medalist?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I did ask her a few questions about that. Um, but look, I guess we were both there to compete, so we're both respectful of each other and our needs and you know things like that. So it's pretty normal. Like she's also a normal person behind that Rio Olympic gold medal.
One of our very first guests we ever had on this show was Catherine way
Oh, that's
back in
cool.
2016.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
awesome.
been a while since we've talked to
Yeah.
her. But I mean, it looked like a beautiful facility. This looked like a fancy
Yeah, it was
hotel.
nice. It was like it's like a refurbished church, I think.
Wow.
And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was going to be some sort of aged care or residential care type facility.
Right.
Not 100% sure because I can't remember, but yeah, it had all been refurbished. So it was quite nice. We had, I guess, an area where we had our food and had a TV there. So you could watch other events and things. There were outdoor areas with some, well, not hammocks, but it was like a recliner hammocky sort of thing where you could chill. And then I guess your own rooms. So it's not a massive space, but you could walk into town. I guess when you're staying in a satellite site and it's not a true village, there's a lot less security. So we still had people greet us at the door and check our bags and check our accreditation and stuff. But it's much less of a hassle to just walk out.
What did you like that? I mean, sort of comparing it to where you would have stayed in Rio and Tokyo, kind of that different vibe.
I mean, there's pros and cons. It definitely didn't have a village vibe to it at all. Sort of ends up feeling a little bit like another event like a World Cup or something like that, which is not necessarily a bad thing while you're in competition mode, but you do miss out on the other experiences and chatting to athletes from other sports and other countries and that sort of thing. Because I guess the shooting community, a lot of people already know each other. So you might not be meeting new people from that perspective. And so you're not part of the broader Australian team. So you miss out on that a bit.
But you obviously then, on the flip side, after you compete, I mean, just jumping ahead a little bit here, Elena, but then once you get to the actual village in Paris, you're then experiencing that. And because at that point you've finished competing, you can maybe relax a little bit more. I mean, I can imagine that's a whole different kettle of fish at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. The people that you got to be mindful that you're going in and people there are competing though. So now the Australian Olympic Committee has different rules. So after Tokyo, where everyone was required to leave within 48 hours or something, like I left the next day of the competition, I think they did whatever stats and said that that was actually performance advantage to people who are still competing, having less people around and distractions and whatnot. So now I think they changed the rule to once your sport finishes, you need to leave and then you're allowed back into the village for the closing ceremony. We were a bit different because we didn't have a village experience at all. So that's, I think, and we're quite a small group. So I think that's why they let us in for a few days before that. I guess I was feeling pretty flat, to be honest, after my sort of games performance. So it was good to get out in Paris, see a bit of Paris, see some events, chat to other people. But you also, I wasn't feeling that great in general.
Well, I'll get to that part. We'll make it positive shortly. So we'll talk about the competition now so we can get to sort of some of the other stuff I want to ask you about that. So you finished 37th in the 10 metre, 35th in the 25 metre. I'll touch on the 10 metre first. This was basically day one, the first event essentially. You were the first shooter out there to go out there. I mean, take us through kind of that competition, sort of what happened there. And I want to label this with a positive for you, that you did better in this than you did in Rio, right? So, like, I mean, if you want to do your progression from 8 years prior to this, you left Paris with a better finish in the 10 metre than you did in Res. I'm just trying to put a positive spin on it here for you, Elena.
Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, look, the event wasn't that bad. Yes, I didn't place that well, but my actual shooting wasn't that bad. So you don't always get rewarded, I suppose. There's a lot of decimals. Ultimately, you need to shoot a lot of tens, right? And, having 9.8s and 9.9s doesn't get you those points, but they're not necessarily bad shots. Like, I didn't have awful errors where things were flying, everything was out of control or whatnot. My groups were just a little bit wider than what they'd been in training and at other times, but overall, I didn't feel awful about that competition. I felt like I prepared well. It was strange because obviously it was hot in Paris, but I think they didn't have enough power or something to like air condition the air range, and the ventilation was terrible. It's probably like 10 degrees warmer in the air shed than anywhere else. And
Wow.
you'd walk in and you'd have physical like sweat dripping off you onto the floor and stuff. So one of the comments my coach made was that I had too many breaks to like wipe my sweat or whatever. And apparently that's why I lost. But look, we won't delve too deep into that.
That's a
I wasn't
fascinating analysis by your coach.
okay, look, maybe I've dumbed it out slightly, but it's more to do with like rhythm and routine and things like that. Sort of just making a bit of a joke of it. But I honestly didn't feel terrible. Like, okay, when you say 37th or 35th or whatever you said, I didn't even commit that to my memory. I knew it was pretty low on the table. And, I was a bit, I don't know if disappointed is the right word, but ultimately I felt like I brought whatever I could to the table. I didn't feel like things were out of hand. I didn't make massive errors. It just didn't work out. I wasn't rewarded that day. Whereas another day, all those 9.9s might be 10s or 10.1s, and then your score's 10 points higher.
Because
there's
you said after the event, reading a quote here from you, that you gave it your all, and although the outcome was clearly not good enough to progress to the final tomorrow, there were a lot of good takeaways for me. So it sounds like even just sort of at that moment, you're able to kind of look at that and go, okay, well, not the result I obviously went into this for, but I can take something out of this, and at that point, move towards your next event.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's been a while since I've thought about it, to be honest with you.
We like to delve out the deep memories that you've tried to compress over the time on this show.
Starting to feel a little bit of like PTSD about the whole experience. It still gets me a bit emotional talking about it. Like, yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure. I'm sure I've written somewhere in my diary what those takeaways were, but they're not front of mind at the moment. I think I have sort of distanced myself from it a little bit.
Is there a reason for that? I mean, besides the obvious of the results weren't where you were expecting to be, is there anything else sort of?
Yeah, well, look, it was my third games. I wasn't going to just participate. I think maybe I just didn't believe not strongly enough, or like didn't believe 100% about my competence or my capabilities, or that I can be there and get in those finals. Maybe there was some doubt around that, but the lead up to the games, the year into it, I was having a hard time, and things are never perfect. Everything goes up and down or fluctuates. I think emotionally, because of my work situation and maybe not feeling so comfortable with that and where I was in life in general, it adds a bit of extra pressure. I found the selections quite difficult. I can't remember if we touched on that when we spoke.
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot around that.
But it was the hardest sort of selections, and I think I just put a lot of pressure on myself because of the professional sacrifices, taking the time off. So it felt as though for it to be worthwhile, I've got to do really well, and it won't be worthwhile if I don't. Although objectively I know that to be false, that was a bit how I was feeling. So I pretty much, coming home from the games, had to start work a couple of days later, new job at a new workplace, haven't really had any time to recover, still super jet lagged, quite emotional. Like, it was just a difficult time. And I think I was just giving myself space to do something else in life and focus on the career stuff that I'd put on hold a little bit.
Until a podcast comes to you and makes you talk about it all over again, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. It'll be nice for me.
Welcome to Dr. Ben. We're trying out a bit. But is that something though that, I mean, obviously it's still raw for you and difficult to talk about, but I mean, is it something that sports psychologists can help with? I mean, is it something that, not depending on where your direction is going now in the sport, that you can sort of, address those feelings from Paris and try and move on from them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've only had one or two conversations with the sports psychologist I was seeing like before the games. Partly it's to do with access, partly it's to do with getting into work so quickly. I sort of recently started reaching out. I think you've got to be ready to talk about it. And that's fine. Like, I have no problem to speak about it now. I think in those initial stages, some support would have been good. I was just so like busy at work. It just felt like I didn't have any space or time, even though it's very important. So it was hard to prioritize it. I'm not, at a sports institute anymore, so you don't have sort of people asking you, if you get what I mean. It's all on you to arrange that for yourself. So absolutely, you're spot on. That is something that a sports psychologist can help with. So hot tip, thanks for that.
But every athlete, though, Elena, has their own way of dealing with situations like that. We'll talk to some people on this show who will, have a disappointing competition, go back to their room, cry their eyes out, eat some food, and then within a week they're sort of moved on to it. Some people can take multiple years, reconsidering where they are. It's a long period, another 4 years if you're going to another Olympics. So I guess with your journey, you're at where you're at right now and sort of, I guess, still working out what those next steps may be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, no one wants to go out on a bad performance, but you don't always get to choose. And I guess that's part of it is, no matter what it is that I really wanted in this time, if I want to be a urologist, I have to complete my training program, I have to complete my fellowship exam, and the time for that is now. So the amount of time I'm able to give to shooting is like I can't keep going the way that I had been going. For 10 years or however long I was doing it alongside my work. There's only so long that is like manageable. There's so much burnout associated with that and fatigue and compromising a lot of other stuff because you're just so like my work hours are massive. It's just so busy. So like that's just not sustainable. I can't do that. So you do get to a bit of a crossroads, and that is absolutely part of it because I'm sitting there being like, okay, this just happened. I don't know if this is the end for me. Right? Is this the end of my athlete career? Is this the end? Is this going to be my last competition? Is this going to be my last experience? And it didn't go well. Like, of course, everyone wants, no matter what the competition is, you're there because, you've got the skills and it can go well. But in sport, it doesn't always turn out that way. I guess that's what the intrigue is. It's uncertain. And I was sort of there with, I can't change the past. It is what it is. But what does that mean for me? And how do I deal with it if it is the end? And I don't have the answer to any of those questions yet. I don't necessarily think it is the end, but it's definitely on the back burner at the moment.
Well, I love what you said on your Instagram post after the second competition in the 25 metres. You close it out by saying, I gave it everything. It just didn't work out. The dust will settle in time. And I think that kind of summarises what you're saying there because, I mean, in time is an open-ended period, right? We don't know. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 2 years. You never know.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't settled yet. Just speaking about it now, I've got no idea when it will settle. But look, I have been making some decisions around what I do with the sport at the moment. I think realistically, I do have to prioritise my career. So I won't be doing a whole heap. And look, fresh off the press, no, not really, but I'm only really going to do local sort of competitions this year, maintain my license, sort of have some of the community experience around it. And I'm not even going to go to the national championships because I think for so long, like last weekend, I wasn't working last weekend, the one just gone, but the one before I was. So as we were talking before, it wasn't recorded, but when I work the weekend, I work 12 days in a row. You don't get extra days off or anything like that after your weekends. And then there was a competition in Brisbane just gone last weekend, which I wasn't at. And this new week started now and I'm working this weekend. And I was sitting there thinking, gosh, last year that would have been me. That would have been me working 12 days, flying on Friday night to go to Brisbane, competing for 2 days, flying home on Sunday night, going back to 12 days of work, maybe only having 2 days off and then having another competition the following weekend. And I just think I can't do that anymore. I can't. Like, I don't know how I did it for so long in the first place. Like I'm starting to think how I was freaking crazy. Like what was I doing? I can't. I'm tired. I'm burnt out. And studying for the fellowship exam it's something I have to do on top of my work hours anyway. So that's the time gone. So even if I really, really wanted to continue and be more elite and like travel and compete, I don't think it's possible at this point. So the question really is, I don't know what to do now in the time that I am prioritizing the profession, and am I going to want to come back to it once I pass my fellowship exam? What does that look like? If I do want to, what sort of doors do I need to leave open? I don't know. There's a lot of these questions and I don't really need to decide anything, but I'm just trying to do what feels right at the time. And so on my calendar, I only had a couple of comps this year, and part of it was more for community engagement. Like the state team was quite supportive of me and they helped out with a couple of trips or a trip last year in the lead up to the games, and I always quite enjoyed being part of the state team. So I did go to the state titles, and I didn't not have a good time. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It was sort of just, but I remember going into it being like, I could just have these 2 days off. Like I could just actually have these 2 days off, or I could study. Like I need to start studying now. The exam, people study for a year for it. So the time is now to start all that. And so, rushing around and going to nationals and requesting leave. Like I want to use my leave on something else. Like I want to, spend time doing some other things. And maybe that time will actually help that dust settle and figure out what's next and process everything. And, so I'm not closing the door, but right now it doesn't feel like
you're not officially announcing the retirement on the show right now. This is what we're trying to, we're not getting this. But the thing is though,
but actually if I did, maybe I'd get one of those cool plaques. Did you see some of the athletes have been getting the plaques from the AOC?
I reckon.
I'm like, is it because is that to do with announcing your retirement? Because like I want one. Because they're really pretty. But,
so you're saying right now, if the AOC is listening and you can get a plaque, you're retiring. If not, you'll see. that's the message I'm getting. But
I don't know what I'm saying. I want one. But look. Anyway, I can't remember what I was going to say.
It's fine. People lose their track of thought on this show all the time. But it's what I'm getting from that, though, is if we talk to you in a year, you're going to have completely different answers to those questions than you are right now, because it is sort of very fresh and raw. And I want you to channel a great Australian Olympian in the great Dale Begg-Smith. Now, I don't know if you know much about the great Dale Begg-Smith story, but please enlighten me for a couple of seconds here. Our great mogul skier won a gold back in Turin. And essentially, he, of course, is known for this outside world where he's this multi-millionaire because he sends emails to people that you click on and it's like spam, essentially. And the rumor around him is that he lives on a tropical island in the Caribbean. And in the lead up to Sochi, the AOC and everybody else could not get in contact with him, and was basically reached out about 2 months before the Olympics. Hey, are you coming this time around? You're the reigning gold and silver medalist. And he was like, yeah, all right. So basically 2 months before the Olympics, did a couple of World Cups, qualified for the Olympics, boom, he was there. So what I'm trying to say for you, Elena, is that who knows, come 2028, you could have just been, pursuing your career, and all of a sudden you get the tap on the shoulder in like February 2028. Hey, Elena, what are you doing? You want to go to the Olympics? Yeah, all right. I'll do some qualifying. Boom, you're a 4-time Olympian. Always channel Dale Begg-Smith is what I'm trying to say to you.
Oh, look, we'll see. Although that is quite unlikely. I have zero expectation that all of a sudden I can wake up one morning and decide a few months out I want to go to the games and that it's actually be a reality. I think that's some of what my colleagues think. It's funny. They'll be like, oh, so you're going to LA 2028? I'm like, you don't get to just decide that you're going. Like, it takes a little bit of effort to get in. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go.
It's not the 1904 when people literally would wake up the day of St. Louis Olympics. Yeah, I might be an Olympian today. Like, we can't do that anymore. It's changed a little bit there. Actually, just speaking of colleagues on that, I had to laugh in re-listening. I don't know if you remember you telling me this in our last chat, but you mentioned you had a colleague who said to you after you got back, I think from Tokyo, you didn't make the top 10, so what was the point of going? Again, you didn't name names, but I'm just wondering if...
I really don't want to talk to that person now because they'll be like, what the fuck?
I was going to say, are they still working with you? And I'm a bit scared of what they might have said to you after Paris.
Nah, I'm not working with them at the moment.
There's a reason why.
I think for the most part, it's probably said in jest, but I still think it's quite rude.
Very rude.
But yeah, everyone's got different sort of senses of humour, don't they? But anyway.
Which, I mean, all jokes aside, and I want to move on to some other stuff after sort of your competition, but I mean, that post that I just shared there where you're sort of talking about the dust will settle in time, the images are very powerful in themselves because there's this photo of you sort of standing in front of your teammates, you got this very stoic look on your face, and you're hugging, I think it might be your coach. And you can just tell by the look in your face, just the disappointment. What do you do that night? Once you get a chance to be alone, is it do you break down? Do you put some music on? Like, I mean, kind of what's your go-to process?
What's my coping strategy?
Yeah, immediately after that.
Gosh. I think it took a few hours before I stopped feeling like I was going to cry constantly. I'm not like a massive cry either. It takes a fair bit. So I did cry for a while, not all in one block, if that makes sense. I'm trying to actually remember what I did that night. I think I went out for did I go out for dinner with my parents? I actually can't remember. It's a bit of a blur. I know that we had other people's finals to watch, but I can't remember if that was the next day or if that was the same day. No, I think the final. No, the final where Penny won was a couple of days before. That's right. I remember now.
Well, you've shared a photo. I think you've gone and watched the mixed skeet, it looks like, here afterwards. So there was obviously some other events
I did watch.
after.
No, we definitely went to support the rest of the team. It was quite hard, like at times, to watch on, but
Was it the relishing then of then afterwards, sort of going back to what we were talking about before, that when you could get to Paris, I mean, you got some pictures of you at the basketball, for example, you're seeing some other events, you did the closing ceremony. I mean, was that a chance where you were able to kind of just let your hair down a little bit and enjoy that experience slightly?
there have been parts that I enjoyed, and then there would have been parts I really didn't enjoy. And just, there's lots of good stuff in there, and I'll probably appreciate that more in time. So I'm glad I have those memories and, that I posted a few things because, I don't think I'll ever not feel the disappointment around it. It won't hurt so much anymore. But I think one of the good things about social media is you can go back and have a look and be like, oh, I had fun on that day. It was really cool to, watch France versus Germany, like home crowd. The French crowds were pretty hectic. Like there was lots of good stuff in there, but my general vibe was pretty flat.
I mean, obviously you famously did the opening ceremony in Tokyo carrying the flag, but was this the first chance you actually got to do a ceremony outside of Tokyo and carrying the flag?
Oh, I did the closing ceremony in Rio.
Right. Okay.
Remember that? It was pouring rain and we all had ponchos.
Mm-hmm.
So look, the closing was good. We had a chat with like other people on the team. Parts of the ceremony were good. We were all waiting for like Billie Eilish and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then they came out on the screen. I know, how rude.
Were you one of the ones who left? Because I remember sitting in the stands watching like a third of the stadium just leave. As soon as Snoop Dogg was on that beach in LA, everyone pissed off basically.
Yeah, I think we stayed a little bit longer. I think we watched most of the pre-recorded thing and then started walking away.
I've heard that the Australian team after party was pretty happening afterwards.
Oh yeah, it was just downstairs. Look, I didn't have particularly much to drink like other people may have, but I still joined in the festivities for a while.
Did you get up on stage and dance, and did you get close to Tom Cruise?
That I did not.
Ah, all right.
That was at the closing. Yeah, no, I didn't get up on the stage because everyone was running, and then there's all these announcements for the athletes to get off the stage. I was like, I'm not going to be that person.
Which I love. Again, I've shared the story many times, but sitting in the stand, we legitimately thought like that was part of it. And I think as athletes we've talked to on the show, I've said, yeah, we thought we were meant to go up on stage. And then I wasn't sure if people back home watching it were hearing the voice over the speakers. Could the athletes please get off the stage? And then obviously it did feed back to the broadcast. I'm messaging people back in Australia going like, are you seeing this right now? This is like insane. But which is, I mean, it does look...
That was pretty funny.
Because it looks a bit weird when you see them performing like and nobody's on stage with them. It kind of does look like they were wanting them.
Odd, wasn't it?
Yeah. Very, very strange with that. I mean, but it's good to sort of hear that you're sort of able to at least, I guess, do that. And as you said, like reflecting back on it, I'm sure after time you'll look back. And that's the beauty of social media, as you said. We can sort of scroll through our feed and go, hey, I did that. That was cool.
Yeah, no, there's heaps of great experiences. And overall, my journey, like I've learned heaps of stuff. There'll be things that I carry forward, and it might not be over. I don't know. But yeah, it's a shame. Like I think it just takes. We've said this before. It just takes time. Like for the first few months were really hard, and then it got easier, and it'll get easier again. And it is good to have these reminders of other positive interactions, getting to know other people on the shooting team, spending some time with Penny and Ashlyn and Serge and Dane afterwards. There were a few of us that carried on, stayed, and Josh. We all did a few things together, all had our own space, but it was nice to get to know people. It was really cool to be part of, and watch Penny win the bronze medal. Like it's great to be part of that sort of thing. Such a remarkable achievement. Like everyone was so happy for her, of course. And there's heaps of positive and good memories. I think it just more goes back to not knowing or being uncertain about what's next for me and processing what that means for me as like an individual and as an athlete. And it's hard to think, it might all be behind me. And maybe I think it's quite common to maybe have the thought that, I didn't appreciate it as much at the time.
Yeah.
while you're going through it, you sort of don't have that, appreciation for the experience. And then when you're like, oh, that might be it, and you sort of feel a bit regretful that maybe you didn't stop and smell the roses or appreciate it for what it was.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you just on that, I noticed you did one of the Welcome Home events, and there's a great photo of you sort of signing autographs with some kids there. So, I mean, are those moments where maybe it does hit you a little bit because you've got young children who are there like, I want your autograph, and no disrespect to you and your sport, but I can imagine that's not a common thing in Australia that you're getting asked for your autograph. Shooters are not.
What do you mean? I get asked my autograph every time I walk down the street.
I was going to ask for it after this. I'm desperate for Elena, but I'm sure if you and Ariane Titmus are walking down the street in Melbourne, I'm assuming they're coming to you, and she's,
Who's that?
Yeah, who's that? But I mean, like, is it a moment where you kind of go, okay?
Oh, no, that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was cool. That was nice. I think they put on it was a shame because the weather was terrible in Melbourne, and I don't think I've done a welcome home event before because
not in Tokyo and Rio would have been the last one, right?
After Rio, I had to go straight back to night shift, so I missed it. And then Tokyo, I don't think there was anything. And then this was on a weekend and I wasn't working. And I remember I was talking to one of my consultants, and he used to do, I think it was 800 meters, and he went to the Commonwealth Games. Don't ask me which one. I forget. Anyway, and I wasn't sort of umming and ahhing because I was still in that acute period where I didn't feel like I felt really bad inside. And I wasn't sure if I should go. And he's like, go, Elena, like, you're going to look back on this in I don't know how many years and you're never going to have this experience again. Just go. So I was like, all right, I'll take his advice. I'll go. And yeah, it was good. The weather was terrible, so we didn't have an amazing turnout. I saw pictures from like Brisbane and Sunny Coast and other places, but it was a terrible day. It was like 14 degrees or something. It was raining. So there weren't a huge crowd, but the people who came were value. They were good value. Yeah, it was nice.
It's sort of, I'm so glad they did it. I went to the Sydney one and sort of it was a nice turnout there. But I remember going back, growing up in Tassie, we would very rarely get any formal one. I remember Sydney, they sort of did because I think everyone after Sydney got one. But I do remember after Rio, we got one. And I met, funnily enough, Catherine Skinner. I don't think we'd had her on the show at that point. I remember Chloe Esposito was there, one of the Campbells. So we actually got a few of the bigger names came to Hobart. And it was a smallish crowd. But I mean, as an Olympic geek, it was like a great deal. I've got my selfie with Catherine and a gold medal and Chloe Esposito. And as a kid, I think it was Lauren Burns, our Taekwondo gold medalist. I got to like hold and wear her gold medal. But I mean, I was 13 back then. So that was sort of the age of these kids that you're meeting where, like these kids, who knows what they're going to say. Like, I met this shooter, impressionable. So, and hopefully get some more young kids into shooting, right?
That would be cool. I was just thinking, like, I'm always like too shy to ask for that selfie. I wish I asked for those selfies.
Always
ask those selfies now. But I did meet some nice people from the basketball team.
Who'd you meet?
Event, so.
Can you remember who they were?
Mariana Tolo.
Yeah, okay, yes. Guest on this show.
Yeah, she's really nice. I'd met her in the village, and she and Catherine are friends actually, and that's how I met her initially. But she was there, and we had a chat then, and she's over in Bendigo playing now. Yep. So yeah.
We had her on the show in the lead up to Paris. We remember she was talking to us from Launceston of all places, the mecca of Tasmania, really, when it comes to that. But I mean, you told the story last time how you met Usain Bolt at the 2018 Commonwealth Games.
Oh yeah.
So, go on there. Did you do any spotting once you're in the village, sort of in that second week in Paris? Like, did you see LeBron James?
I was a bit jealous because. So we got there and people in the Aussie team told us that I think it was a few days prior, like Australia and Spain shared an area where there was a ping pong table. I think the buildings backed onto each other. And Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz were there playing ping pong. So many Aussies like went to meet them and apparently they were really nice and let everyone take pictures and stuff. And I was super jealous because I love tennis.
Yeah,
I would have loved to meet them.
Well, next time, fourth Olympics, just putting in the pressure out there. I love hearing those stories though, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're all Olympians and you're all sort of there.
I would have loved to meet Simone Biles. That would have been sick.
What would you do?
I think everyone in the world wants to meet her.
What would you do?
I'd probably be like, I don't know.
She could be asking for your autograph.
So many people.
Like, oh my God, you're my favorite shooter. I mean, you never know.
Very, very unlikely. But anyway, her performance was pretty impressive. I enjoyed following her story. Yeah, I don't know what I would do because I'd probably be too shy to like say anything. I'd be like, oh, these people have others approach them all the time. I think I mentioned probably last time we spoke that when Usain Bolt was in the village in 2016, like he couldn't barely get 2 steps in without someone running up to him wanting to take selfies. That's not where I met him. Like I saw that happen in
Yeah.
real time. And he's yeah, you don't want to be that
It's
person.
just
But anyway.
it is that period though, isn't it? Where I mean that's their life, right? Like they're
Oh, yeah.
obviously they're used to that. But I mean the one I remember seeing in the media center was they had obviously each day, each certain countries would have a big press conference, and one day Team USA had their athletics team come in, and I was sort of leaving the little Australian office as they were walking upstairs. He's like Noah Lyles and the gang just like walking past me, and I'm just like, ah, it's Noah Lyle. There he is. And it was funny. I did media at the Las Vegas Grand Prix last year, and he was there too as a guest. And actually, funnily enough, at the time of recording this, the Australian Grand Prix last week, Leon Marchand was here. Apparently, he got to wave the flag, and I'm just like, what's he doing in Australia? No one in Australia would know who he is. But as you would know from France, you couldn't walk 5 meters without seeing his face plastered somewhere in Paris. So
That's true. Yeah.
it really is crazy. Actually, one thing I wanted to ask you from a random post. Now, I want you to clarify this for me. You did a photo of you in your uniform getting ready before the Olympics. And it's a picture of you with a pair of shorts and a measuring tape. And now you've said here that you're trying these shorts, it has to be a certain length to do with shooting rules. And you've said that they can't be 15 centimeters higher than the middle of your kneecap. What the hell is the deal with shooting rules and having shorts not a certain length?
It's actually so ludicrous because like one of my friends texted me, he was like, this is my favorite thing I've seen on the internet all day or whatever all week. It's actually wild. Someone came up to me, it must have been on the competition day. So on that first day, the judge with a ruler to measure my shorts. But it's a real problem. So with shooting in the uniform, shooting doesn't get any special kit. Athletics will get all the gear that they run in. Rowing will get their suits. Cycling will get their suits. There is no specialized equipment for shooting. I think we've asked for a while to have, oh yes, AOC, if you're listening, send me my plaque, A, and B, give women tights 3/4 length for shooting, please. Anyway, they've tried for multiple cycles to get us tights because a lot of the girls shoot in tights. It's often really, really hot. And also they're usually an appropriate length. But because of that rule, the shorts, you get your kit and you're like, shit, are any of these shorts going to fit? So there's only one pair that actually fit the criteria. And my favorite part of that photo was I made my dad take those pictures, right? And then he was making fun of me and doing the pose, and so I decided to snap that too. So he was part of it.
It's a funny photo. But why?
But it's actually wild.
What is
I don't know
rule?
if it's about professionalism or something. But yeah, the shorts can't be too short. I don't know if they don't want people in like really short, I don't know, shorts that are like running shorts or whatever. It's something to do with appearing professional and professionalism.
And
I don't want people to be too skimpy. I don't know. Whatever. I just play by the rules. I don't set them. But it's really annoying going to these multi-sport events where the uniform's not made for you and you have to somehow fit into it.
So 2 points in that. Is this this is for men and women, or is this only specifically for women?
Oh, I think it's for both.
It better be for both.
I think it's for. However, in general, men's shorts are created longer.
Yeah, true. That is true. But they're literally measuring. So, like, if you have got a short that's, are you disqualified? Like, is this kind of?
Yeah, I think they make you go change.
That this is so fat. You are the third shooter I've interviewed recently, and we're staggering these interviews between you, Josh, and Sergey. I am learning like these little things, like Josh teaching me essentially that climate change could affect his event by the time the next Olympics. Sergey saying his event might not even be at the next Olympics, and now you're telling me that you can get disqualified because your shorts are too bloody short. I mean, of all the sports,
it's actually pretty wild.
Of all the sports that I could imagine you getting disqualified for a uniform malfunction, shooting would be down near the bottom. Like, I mean, what is going on
it's
here?
Pretty wild. You're not allowed any camouflage. Like, there's all these rules.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Anyway.
That is absolutely insane. The things you learn.
That was pretty funny.
I mean,
thank you for reminding me of this because this is one of the funny things.
this
This
is
is one
what
of the
we're
things
here
I can look
for.
back on and laugh. That's so good. That was gold. Yeah, I love that.
I'm now questioning the logistics of having a Turkish shooter with his hand in his pocket. That somehow should be illegal based on these stupid rules. Like, I mean, that's...
No, his pants were full length.
No.
Pants were full length.
Touche. They were. That's, I mean, that I'm no pun intended, blown away by just learning everything about shooting.
It's so funny. You know, it's actually quite nice as well on the flip side not to have to worry about those little things in the background.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit of stress has gone away.
Well, we've had, I mean, athletes from ski jumping, for example, we've learned like their crotches are measured because of just certain things of the aerodynamics. I mean, gymnastics, famously, there have been people disqualified because their bra strap's showing. Stupid things like that, which, I mean,
that
2025, like, come on, are we not moved past that sort of crap?
Wow, crotch measuring is next level.
No, crotch measuring and ski jumping is a thing. So we've got some great interviews on this show. Somewhere I'm asking athletes,
listen to that one.
maybe not of appropriate age, and I'm talking about their crotches, but hey, like, you've got to ask the question about their suits. That's what I'm trying to say. Just to clarify, if the police are listening, that was a...
Yeah, it's so true. Every sport has all these little quirks, and someone outside would be like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, why is this even an issue?
You're like normal. This is part of what you've grown up with in the sport. And then somebody like me is like, what? They're measuring your shorts? Like, come on. What's going on here? What's going on? I mean, before I get into our new set of questions to sort of end this out, Elena, obviously we've touched on the future for you, but I mean, just your profession. I didn't ask you a lot about it last time. We talked a bit about off air, but I mean, just to clarify, you're a doctor, you're a surgeon. I mean, you are the lifeblood of this planet. You are saving lives, everything along that. I mean, just it sounds like everything's going well for you in your at least professional life outside of the bloody long hours. I feel kind of bad taking away from your time right now when you probably should be sleeping right now.
Yeah, I know. Look, it's a hard slog. So I don't know how much you know about surgery, but
not a whole lot. I've never done it and I've never had it. So I've watched the.
Oh, you've never had it. No one wants to have surgery, so keep it that way. So to become a specialist, you have to do a specialist training program, and that's what I'm in. I'm in the urology training program. I'm about halfway through, so next year would hopefully be my exam year, and the year after that would be sort of my final year of training, hopefully. A lot of people do what they call fellowships after that, which might be overseas, learning a new skill that you bring back to Australia or subspecializing in a particular area. But to get onto the training program is where there's a very large bottleneck in surgery. So many people work for maybe between 4 to 8 or 9 years before they even get onto the surgical training program.
Wow.
And the hours, as you heard, are long. We do a lot of on-call. It's a fine balance because, you know, to train as a surgeon, you do actually need the breadth and scope of experience. So you definitely do need some of that. But on the flip side, sometimes I think maybe you'd learn better or get more out of your day if you slept at night. And of course, people want to be fresh, and patient safety is like this whole whole kettle of fish that we won't delve into. But overall, I feel like now finally I'm starting to make some inroads. There's a lot of competencies and things I need to sign off for my training program. That was one of the big changes that happened. So when I decided to take my time for the shooting, what I ultimately did was I did 1 year of surgical training over 2, ultimately. And by surgery standards, I worked part-time, but let me tell you, it was more than full-time hours. But surgical standards, it was part-time. And then last year I had the first half of the year off. I shared a job and then came back for the second half of the year. And after that, it was sort of a 6-month break. I did do I needed to work for a source of income, but I didn't work full-time, obviously. It took a little bit of time to get back into things and get back into the swing of things in the new training program. I actually entered the training program where it was a different rule set, but because I sort of dropped into a year below because of the time I've had off, they've changed a lot of rules. So there's new competencies you have to sign off, there's new processes, new assessments, and all that. So I was just sort of getting to the swing of those sort of things, trying to get on top of it. Ultimately, you know, that's the career I've chosen in my life. I do enjoy the specialty. There's a lot of things that I guess are tedious or tiresome or onerous in surgical training that aren't really to do with the medicine. There's a lot that I guess I didn't really know going into medicine and surgery that you'd have to deal with. But ultimately, it's a rewarding career. There's a lot of variety in the job. It's very skill based, which is quite similar to the sport that I participated in. It's, people take pride in their work and their skills and being able to help patients in need. It's a privilege to be a part of their journey. I'll forget, but going to hospital for them is very, very foreign and scary, and you're there in a moment of time where you can maybe make that slightly less frightening or make a positive difference in their lives. So there's a lot of things that are rewarding, but to actually qualify and to finish, like, I feel the training program is to be endured and not enjoyed. Yes, just like the Olympics where it didn't go so well, there'll be ups and downs and highs, and there'll be great moments, but it is really hard work. There's a lot of hours, there's a lot of study, there's a lot of sacrifice and compromise. People's families make sacrifices, like, because you're sort of living and breathing surgery, especially during your exam time. So not dissimilar to my Olympic pursuits. So here's another challenge for you.
I like the comparisons of that. I've got two final questions of that before we get into our last set of questions. The first one, it always fascinates me when I speak to somebody in the medical profession of how you get involved in certain specialties. And there are certain areas of medicine where I often wonder, do you grow up wanting to be a urologist? Because it's maybe not the glamour side of medicine. Like, I mean, what was it about urology that, I don't know if this is the correct way of putting it, tickled your fancy?
Yeah. So I think it's about the variety for me. So in general, you can sort of group things into medical specialties or surgical specialties, or like critical care, things like intensive care, emergency, that sort of stuff. And I like variety in my day. I like doing procedures. I like doing things with my hands. So surgery in general appealed to me. Sometimes it's about the people. So you might meet people along your journey that can influence your career path. And ultimately, you're choosing between things that you've tried. As a student or as a junior doctor, you won't get to try everything. So you're sort of limited to what you've tried. But when I was in medical school, I spent a year in Ballarat, and the urologists there and the whole unit were really kind and helpful and encouraging, always welcomed us. So I already wanted to try it out when I was a doctor. And it took a couple of rotations of urology before I decided I wanted to pursue it. But there's a lot of variety. You don't operate on everyone, but when you do operate, there's variety in surgery. So there's sort of minor procedures, things that you do under local anesthetic. And then there's all the way to robotic surgery. So I don't know if you've heard much about how surgery's progressed, but there's robots that help us do operations now.
Wow.
There's keyhole surgery, open surgery, endoscopic surgery, meaning going through the passages you already have, putting cameras into small holes and treating kidney stones. And there's a lot of variety. There'll be cancer work, there'll be, bread and butter kidney stone type work. It is more skewed towards men than women because we deal with prostates, but there's variety of there's variety in your day, there's variety in the patients you see. Sometimes I feel like maybe I'm easily bored, so I do quite like variety. And, I met some people that were kind and supportive and that I like, and that now I can call mentors, and that have supported me on the journey. So that's probably why I chose it.
It's a great summary of that. That I just sort of love hearing the ins and outs of why people chose the specialties. The more important question I have to ask you for this part of the interview, though, Elena, what's a better medical show, ER or Grey's Anatomy?
Oh, I think I have watched some of ER.
It's kind of old now. I'm sort of of that school now where I grew up on that, and now people seem to forget about it, which is sad.
Look, one thing I'll say about Grey's Anatomy is far fewer people survive resuscitation than they do on that show, which is probably a bit morbid, but so many people just seem to live. I think that the cases in Grey's Anatomy, I think that they get doctors to write them or something. So I feel like they're true to a degree, but in America, I feel like what they see and do is a bit different to Australia.
Did you watch All Saints? Did you grow up on All Saints or something like that?
Oh yeah, never watched that. But look, I'm not gonna lie, I am a bit of a sucker for Grey's Anatomy. It got me through my first serious breakup, so I've always got a soft spot for it.
Well, the one that's just started, I don't know if you've caught the new one, The Pit, which has just started, which is brilliant. It's really, really good. So I'm an ER fanboy. That was my show. And Noah Wiley, who was on that show, he's now on this show sort of as the lead. And it's kind of like a mixture between ER and 24. If you remember 24, it was set in real time. So this is kind of like a real time show set in a Pittsburgh emergency room. Every episode's literally an hour of that day. And it's very well done. It's an HBO show, so there's a lot of swearing, a lot of more graphic than Grey's Anatomy, but check it out. It's really good. I'm really enjoying it. So,
Oh, yeah, I might give it a whirl.
yeah, I don't know how much a doctor actually wants to watch medical shows, because maybe you're just like, oh, these are so shit, I don't really want to watch them. Or maybe you just look at them and go, oh, God, I wish my life was like this, rather than what I actually do.
Sometimes they do weird things, but I think they really try. They really try and make things realistic. So in urology, we wear lead a fair bit. Okay. So you've got these heavy lead gowns to protect, your bits, because we use x-rays and things. And, orthopedic surgeons, and a lot of people will use that sort of stuff. And so on Grey's Anatomy, they'll be doing some sort of procedure that requires x-rays. So they'll be wearing the lead gowns, and they have these things called dosimeters. So people can wear monitors of how much x-ray exposure they're getting.
Oh, wow.
But it's supposed to be worn under your lead. So it's supposed to be measuring sort of things that get through under the lead. And I remember this one episode in Grey's Anatomy, I could see they were wearing them, but it was like on top of the lead. So obviously the readings would be really high, not useful, but I was like, oh, it's nice. They're really trying. They're trying to show that.
It's so interesting. Like I remember having a nurse friend, and there was my favorite TV show of all time, is a show called Third Watch, and it had cops, paramedics, and firefighters from New York. So, and a lot of the medical, like paramedic scenes, she would be like, well, look, they're trying here, but like this is not accurate. Like that wouldn't happen. The only time I've ever had that in life in any show in my profession, there was a show called The Newsroom for a while, with Jeff Daniels in it, and pretty accurate when it came to a lot of newsrooms. And I remember, if you ever remember the show, I don't know how old you are in terms of remembering it, Frontline, back in the day. It was sort of a parody of Australian current affairs shows. That was so scarily accurate. We actually had to study that at university in several journalism courses. Wow. And like, having worked in newsrooms, like, it's a parody show, but yeah, pretty accurate. So it's kind of scary the way they do that. The one, actually, you might agree with this. This is a random topic. We're getting to these questions, Elena. But
no, it's fine.
If I always say to my overseas friends, if you want to see an accurate depiction of Australian high school life, Summer Heights High is an absolutely perfect depiction of what high school life is like in Australia. I don't know if you agree with that, but like, it is. That's how I went to high school. So,
Jemay, private school girl, exactly. Is that one character?
Yeah. Clearly, yes, exactly. But no, anyway, TV, very, very important topic on this show. Like, as I said, we now have a set of questions that we're closing. This is the OTP 10. Now, last time we tried to get you to draw. Another bone to pick with you. You never ended up drawing, so just saying. It's been 8 months, still waiting for that drawing.
I'm surprised you still wanted to have me on the show after I disappointed you so gravely.
Look, we like to forgive on this show. Third time is where it's really at. But these are now 10 standardized questions that we're going to ask every single guest. And we start off with the first one. What is the one thing that you never leave home without when traveling to a competition?
Keys.
Keys? Easy. That makes sense. You got to get home, right?
Well, but also you need to be able to open your equipment box.
Hey, even more important, right? There you go. I actually literally thought for a moment that you said cheese, and I'm thinking, well, that's...
No, I buy that there. That's fine.
I mean, whatever helps. Oh shit, forgot my cheese.
Each their own.
Got to shoot today.
That was just the first thing that popped into my mind, but I have this vivid memory of traveling. I remember must have been one of my first overseas trips. And, when you go through customs, you have to show all your equipment. They tick it off, stamp the papers, you lock everything up, you get it on the plane. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make sure my keys are really safe. I'm going to put them in my suitcase. And then we stopped at whatever we had, a stopover. We had a stopover at some airport. I can't remember what country. And they wanted to check our equipment, and they only had our equipment and not our suitcases. Oh. And I was panicking, being like,
shit.
How am I going to show them? Are they going to have to chop off the locks? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they ended up only checking one person's, but like from that moment on, keys.
Keys are always with you. Wow. That's good thinking. I like that. What's a traditional superstition you follow before every big competition?
I'm not really a superstitious person, so that's hard for me to answer. Some people will panic or get upset if someone in the workplace says it's a quiet day or whatever. I don't have those sort of superstitions. I assume I'm going to be really busy and it's going to be crap. And if not, I'm pleasantly surprised. So I'm in general not a very superstitious.
So there's not like you don't have to
person.
have
I'm
a
trying
certain
to think.
food, or you don't have to like, put a glove on a certain way or shoe on, or you don't do anything like that before a competition.
No, no. Maybe I should. Maybe that's where I went wrong.
Yeah. See, I'm teaching
Maybe
you
that's
today.
where I went wrong.
Yep.
Shit, I'm going to have to message a psychologist for sure right now.
You really are due for an appointment. That's the one thing you discover with this.
Sorry, I'm so boring.
Jeez.
I don't. Mate, I'm going to have to ask around and see if people noticed if I did anything like routinely, but I like to go to bed early.
Okay, that's
Does
always
that
good.
count?
Yeah, that works.
I mean, that's pretty standard. That's like
You need
pretty
sleep.
boring. All
Sleep's
right,
important.
just delete that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sleep's important. But who doesn't want to sleep? It's just such a boring answer. Let's move on.
Yeah, never mind. What's a song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists, no matter what?
Oh my God. I'm probably like the weirdest athlete of all time. I don't know if I can call myself an athlete anymore.
You're an athlete.
I do not have a playlist or a pump me up thing. I don't listen to music beforehand.
Okay.
I mean, occasionally, or say if I'm driving or on the bus, maybe it'll be an audiobook. I mean, there have been
podcast,
some
maybe.
songs, like a podcast. Yeah, there's stuff, but like I don't have a. Rarely. I don't have.
I'm hoping out one day somebody
And this
says.
is a problem in the workplace as well, because I hear that you've made it as a surgeon when you get to choose the playlist, right?
Oh,
so I'm going to have
okay.
to start working on this. And when you can play the music in the operating theatre, you've made it. So I know it's a deficiency of mine.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. Like you are the person. If you get interesting. There you go. I was going to suggest I know we've made it when an athlete says to us, "Oh, my pre-pump up, I listen to Off the Podium before I go out there and compete." So I mean, that could help.
How many people have that answer?
None so far. Maybe by episode 1,000. We're not even halfway there yet.
Yeah.
We'll see on that level. Yeah, I mean, have you heard? I'm sorry to bring him up all the time. I always bring up Serge on the show, but I mean, he's got a rap song, after him. So have you yet to have a rapper do a rap song about you at all?
No, I'm just so inadequate and subpar compared to him that no rapper has made a song.
It's the Powerade and the 4 and 20s, right? That's where it's at. What is the most unexpected?
Actually, I'm going to ask you a question because now you've mentioned Serge at least 4 times.
Okay.
How many times did you ask him about me in that other interview with him?
It's a solid
Is it
point.
a big fat 0?
Yeah, I got to say, I mean,
I feel like you've got a little obsession or something going on here.
We've had him on 3 times. We've only had you on 2 times. So, admittedly, he did reach out to us once to come back on. So, probably not meant to admit that on air. Don't tell him that. But, I mean, look, 4th time, I'll just make it all about you. We'll talk entirely about you. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll get him to start filming you doing some social media stuff, right? Like trying on the shorts with the freaking measuring tape. And
I reckon he'd get good shots.
Yeah, he's filmed himself enough, right? Calm down, Serge. We get it. You're good on social media. Anyway, listen to the interview with him recently. It was a good one. The most unexpected or funny DM you've ever gotten as an Olympian?
I'm so unprepared for this. I'm failing this
What
test.
did you think you were doing today?
You definitely should have sent me these questions ahead of time.
Makes it more fun. Come on. Yeah, I mean, all fairness, you did ask, is there anything to do to prepare for this? And I was like, nah, yeah, fine.
Yeah, true. You lied
I do.
to me, dude.
I lie to get people on this show. I lie.
What DM did I get as an Olympian? I don't know, but I'm going to have to scroll through.
Please
So I'll
do,
get back
because
to you on that
I've
one.
discovered recently there are some of our athletes have sugar mummies or sugar daddies after them, trying to get some, who knows. And then we've also had people message people asking them to, like, can you punch me in the face? Like, from some of our combat athletes.
Oh, that is pretty random.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure if somebody's messaged you and going, can you shoot me or something like that? Like, probably not.
I mean, people do make inappropriate jokes about shooting, not infrequently. But
What is the worst? What is the most inappropriate? Now you've opened that can of worms. I need to hear some of these.
I did have someone, albeit she may have had a few drinks, but someone once made this really terrible, stupid comment about like, oh, if someone just walks into the kitchen, do you ever just like shoot them? And I'm like, no. Do you just grab your knife and stab them with your knife? Like, no. Anyway,
Wow.
I was not impressed. I didn't find that particularly funny.
No, that's like, yeah. Does I don't know. Does a javelin thrower when you walk into the kitchen, you just
Yeah.
impale them?
So going back to all this, right? So if you do archery, you can just have your bows and arrows on the floor or with you in your bag.
But you can't have your gun in your bag. You got to lock it up.
No.
Which also, on that, air pistol, right? Like, I mean, how much damage can you do with an air pistol versus like...
Not a lot. It's a glorified hole punch. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the best thing you've ever described back in that first interview. So, but I mean, I think of someone like Penny, who's like literally got like a shotgun. I mean, yeah, okay, that's going to do some damage. But like, I mean, you, like it's a hole puncher, you know?
Yeah, they walk around with them on their shoulders as well.
Yeah, geez. I've got to question some of the logistics around equipment way, but that's a very odd question. Check your DMs. I really am intrigued to see what you.
All right. I'll check my DMs.
What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
Oh, okay. I went to a competition called World Cup Final, which is an invitation-only comp, and they invite like the top 12 to 15 of the people at the time to do the comp. And usually they put you up in a hotel and it's like buffet, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or whatever, or they pack your lunches. And we were in China. Actually, this was in November 2019, and I reckon I caught COVID because I came back sick as a dog. But they had all these buffets with like chicken legs and jellyfish and like, can't.
Wow.
So something along those lines. Like these days, when I was younger, I used to be really sort of more picky with food, and I'd be scared to try stuff. Like I wouldn't eat raw fish or sashimi or whatever or whatnot. These days, I feel like you can't say you don't like it if you haven't tried it. So I'll try almost anything and promptly spit it out if it's not like it.
I mean, valid, right? Like you're at that age now where you're allowed to spit your food out. No one's going to tell you off about it, right? Like, don't eat your vegetables. No, fuck it. I'm like 30. I won't eat my vegetables.
Oh my God. You see some weird stuff when you work in hospitals. You see some really weird stuff.
Okay.
When we're talking about spitting out food. I worked with one of my colleagues. His name is John. We worked in Frankston together. And I'm so lucky that I didn't see this patient that day. But when they reviewed them on the ward round is like when you go and see all the patients admitted under your unit in the morning. She was like chewing bread and spitting it out in blobs as they were like trying to assess her. Anyway.
Okay.
That's just what it reminded me. I'm not to that point yet where I'm just going to actively spit food out in front of you.
I'm rethinking this lunch now, Elena. I don't want to go to lunch with you if this is what you're trying to say.
You can't take it back now. No takey backsies or whatever people say.
I mean, like at the end of the day, you were the one who wanted to have lunch with me in that first interview. So I'm got a bone to pick with you, right? Like it's not like you're busy and saving lives and shit like that.
So you coming to Melbourne?
I am. I'm literally about to move to Melbourne.
Austin Hospital cafeteria, top notch.
What's the specialty at the Austin Hospital? Like, what's the dish of the day that I should be looking out for?
Oh, dish of the day. I don't know. Anything overpriced.
Okay,
potato
everything.
Cakes.
Potato cakes.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. They do pretty good potato cakes.
At least you called them correctly and didn't say potato scallops. So I'm there. Done.
Oh, what is that? It's savage. Can't say that.
But you're a Victorian, so you're going to call it a Parma, not a Parmee, aren't you?
It's definitely a Parma.
That's not all right. Now you lost me. All right, never mind. Moving on. Speaking of food, what's your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after a big competition?
Oh, I don't know that after a competition is the only time that I would have that meal. I could just have it any time, right? I do love gelato. I love a good gelato. Mm-hmm. So that's probably my favorite dessert.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's your? Here's a random question.
But that's not a meal.
Well, you see where I'm going with this. How's your skiing? Because the next Winter Olympics are in Italy. You got the shooting done, so you could like do biathlon if you get your skiing down.
I think you're going to be super fit for that. And the shooting is a rifle, which I think I've shot like once in my life.
Remember, big guns, little guns. We've been over this before, Elena. Like they pew pew at the end of the day, don't they? But I'm just trying to get you some gelato in Italy. That's what I'm trying to get you to.
Look, I can't add like another sport onto my into my life right now.
Right. so no modern pentathlon. You're not adding the running. all the extra bits.
Oh, the ninja. You know what? The ninja would be so cool now that they've done ninja instead of the horse riding. That would be sick. I used to love watching Australian Ninja Warrior.
Yep.
I love that show.
Chloe used to be a decent shooter before she added all the extra sports to her repertoire, didn't she? So, I mean, if She can do it. You can do
but
it.
then she went and won a gold medal. She should have come 35th in Paris like me. Like, I can't believe she did that.
I mean, Queen Chloe, I just got to point that out. We've got to talk about Queen Chloe. But I think she needs to get more respect out there, that she goes out, wins maybe the most random Olympic gold medal Australia's ever won. Then she's basically gone off and, you know, become a mother and is enjoying this great mum life. And it's almost like Dale Beck-Smith. I'm going to win a gold medal, then I'm just going to go off. I feel she's going to pop up in like LA or Brisbane one time out of nowhere. I'm back. I'm here to defend my gold. Like, good for you, Chloe. That's what I'm saying. You are more of a rock star than I ever thought you were. That's what I'm just saying.
Not to say that she couldn't do it, but I know how hard she worked for that gold medal. So, maybe another 8 years of hard work.
And we famously lay claim to that gold medal happening because on day one of this podcast back in Rio, what was the one sport we talked up more people needed to get involved in? Modern pentathlon. What was the gold medal that no one thought we were going to win in those Olympics? Modern pentathlon. You are welcome. So just saying. That's why I'm wearing a Rio shirt today, to celebrate you.
I did notice that.
Celebrate Chloe and everything else there.
Well, I'm wearing my scrubs. Hey. I took my scrub cap off, though, just as a sign of respect, you know.
Oh, you could have worn it, you know. You could have been the first to wear a scrub cap on this show. Why not? I
don't know, you always make demands in these interviews. Questions, drawings, accusations of not attending lunches. I would love a scrub cap, like an Olympic scrub cap. Hey. That would be sick.
So it's actually funny you say that because I know,
carry it with me.
Not quite a scrub cap, but in the early 2000s, Canada used to, at their Winter Olympics, had these kind of weird beret things, which are the closest I could get to a scrub cap off the top of my head. So maybe Lululemon.
This would probably have to be special made.
I mean, Lululemon. How many doctors are on the team? How many doctors are there on the Australian Olympic team? Do you know off the top of your head?
A few. So I think in Tokyo, there was a rower. Okay. I think that it maybe delayed his internship. And was there someone in athletics? I'm not sure, but I'm not the only one, I don't think.
If you're not the only one, then that's why you need to get these scrub caps made.
Absolutely.
So, contact ASICS. ASICS, big listener to this show, clearly. That's why I'm wearing the previous supplier from 8 years ago on this show. Speaking of sports, if you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, what event would you choose and how do you think you'd go?
That's tough. I mean, I know I wouldn't go well, but there's so many things that would be fun to try. I don't know. I love gymnastics. I love watching gymnastics. That definitely wouldn't work out for me. It definitely wouldn't work out. But
do you remember hey,
you got to give everything a go. All these videos come up on my feed of like, I don't know, people trying random things that gymnasts do. Because, it looks, well, whenever anyone is really elite and really good at what they do, it looks effortless, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, of course, all these things always look so easy. And then it's funny, there'll be a video of like just a normal person trying to do it. And that's quite entertaining.
That's why there's always a lot of the comedians will say during the Olympics, I think that people to really understand how hard it is to do what they do, there should be like the 100-meter heats should always include like 3 normal people. So that just like, you're looking at one of these like sprinters who's, only going like 11.1 and you're going, oh, fuck, they're slow. Yet like if I did it, I'm doing it in like 23.6. So like they're lapping me essentially in 100 meters, right? So if I went up against you, like you're saying to me like, oh, I'm disappointed with 37th. I guarantee you, put me next to you on that range and you would just absolutely shit all over me to show how good 37th at the Olympics is compared to someone like me who is barely going to punch a hole in a piece of paper, as you say. So just saying, keeps it
very true. That would be a very excellent and hilarious idea if they ever did that.
I actually like if after lunch when we get it in Melbourne one time, take me to a range and show me how hard your sport is. The only time I did that, I'm thinking like, oh, I could do this when I did curling. Fucking hard is curling. Oh. So just saying. I'm
yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome to come. That would be fun.
It would be very scary if I beat you, and then all of a sudden maybe I'm on the plane to LA. So not going to happen. But I'm just saying, I'm down for a challenge, Elaine. You're going to have a bad day that day.
You have high hopes.
Confident.
I'll try not to squash them immediately.
Confident. If your Olympic journey were a movie, what would the title be, and who would play you?
You definitely needed to have sent me this earlier. I'm not that creative to just be able to like spurt it out. I don't know. You tell me. This is stressful.
I mean, there's so many shooting puns like on target, like, fire away, like,
Oh, that's so lame.
something cheap. But who would play? I mean, that's a tough one. Who would play
Who
you?
would play me? Yeah.
I'm sorry to bring him up again. This is like number 7 on this episode, but like Sergey brought up the fact that he was told he looked like the little girl from A Quiet Place. And when I Googled that image, he literally looks like a little girl from Quiet Place. So I'm thrown by that. So I'm trying to think who could play you. Renee Zellweger.
I don't know.
I say Renee Zellweger. I'm just seeing something in the eyes that I think that she could pull that off.
I'll take it.
How about that?
Can't complain with that. Complain with that.
Renee Zellweger coming soon. On Target. The the Elena Galiabovitch story. Right? That works? Yeah. All right. All right. 2 more for you. What's the one question you're tired of being asked, and what's the one you wish people would ask you instead?
Oh. Yeah, I am tired of being asked if I met the Turkish air pistol shooter and if I'm going to LA with the assumption that you can just like decide on a whim. And what do I wish they'd asked more? That's interesting.
We ask one interesting question on the show, at least.
Maybe just more like, how was it? How do you feel about it? What was maybe things like, what was the highlight? And that would probably help me because, it would remind me of the positive stuff rather than, dwelling on the rest.
Well, we'll answer your own question there. What was the highlight for you, Elena? Come on. What was the highlight of Paris? I got to do my job now. You threw me an easy one there. You just did my job for me. So
the highlight, it was really good to have family there. And even though that day I shot 25 meters was like a really, really tough day for me, I really appreciated like the people that came out to support me, even though like, wasn't going very well. Like it felt really nice and warm to have their support. Yeah, it was nice.
I like that. There you go. See, it's so good when you can actually do my job for me. So I appreciate that. So thank you. And it's also always...
You should do a job swap for a day.
I mean, I don't know how your patients would feel about that, but I'm always down to try.
Like a medical student.
Dr. Ben, here you go. Cool. Yeah. That looks pretty nasty. What do you want me to do about it?
Well, like one of the consultants I work with says, if a rabbi can do it...
Touche. I've got a penis. I've seen one. So, I mean, I'm sure it's not that hard. No pun. Well, that's probably a bad analogy to use in the penis. Moving on. Number 10, the final one of OTP 10. This is a deep question. What's one lesson you've learnt more from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning?
Oh, the losing is just all part of the journey. You'll learn a lot more from losing.
Just helps on the way.
Hey?
It helps on the way, basically, kind of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't win without losing. You have to go through it. It's just life. And I think you just learn how to get back up because no matter what it is, no matter what will happen, there'll be somewhere where you lose or you're stressed or something happens and you have to learn how to cope with it and how to move on. And that's a really great lesson that people get from sport is dealing with adversity, dealing with stress, dealing with, how you might feel about performance or judge yourself and how to move on from that. So
I'm always one to bring up the most random connections to random movies on this show. So again, you got to bear with me on this journey, but it reminds me of the South Park movie, right? So there's a song in that where you've got Satan. Of course there is. He's singing about being evil, and he says a line that without evil there would be no good. So it must be good to be evil sometimes. Like, great line. Trey Parker, Matt Stone, geniuses. So that's kind of like losing, right? Without losing, there would be no winning. So it must be good to lose. Like, you know where I'm going with that, right? Right? Okay, thank you. Journey took some plateaus, but we got there eventually.
That's fine.
There you go. 463 episodes. I've mentioned the South Park movie, so I'm just ticking off this bucket list before I go there.
I see. Just trying to squeeze them in when the opportunity arises.
Just the money coming in there, right? Like, they're going to be sending me that. Comedy Network Comedy Channel going to be sending me money. Anyway, Elena, it's always an absolute pleasure to get you on this show to talk, and we always appreciate sort of how open and honest and everything you are. Good luck with this journey. And I'm saying this now, being the positive guy on this show, doing the positive spin. It's not going to be the last time. We've got to beat another shooter. I'm not going to name anymore. He gets too much airtime. We've got to beat him in terms of appearances. And I feel it that we're going to be talking to you again after another Olympics or another 2 or another 3. Who knows? But
We'll
thank
see
you.
what happens.
We
But I look
appreciate
forward
it.
to it. No, thanks for having me. I feel like, it's like the athlete and doctor in me. I'm like, you asked me 10 questions, I could answer 3 of them. It's ridiculous. Why am I not creative enough? Not funny enough? Anyway, hopefully there's something in there for you to laugh at. I like a good laugh.
Well, we hopefully one day we'll get a laugh on this show. So maybe you've been the person today to finally achieve that. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.